Hello and welcome to Pluribus Unum's Fireside Chats. Not as good as FDR's, but hey, it's something. So, of course, the topic of this episode is rather interesting because many people don't really consider it a possibility. But, of course, before we get into that, let's get right into the news. First off, we have something that was... this is kind of... The article I have for this is slightly older, but I'll explain all the stuff about it. House Dems will take floor action to confront Omar's latest Israel comments. The freshman Democrat is clashing with senior lawmakers on her views, remarks as anti-Semitic. Speaker Nancy Pelosi and top Democrats will take floor action Wednesday in response to controversial remarks by Representative Ilhan Omar about Israel, the second such rebuke from freshman Democrat from the party leaders in recent weeks. Pelosi and other senior Democrats have drafted a resolution to address the controversy, which ballooned over the weekend following a public clash between Omar and senior Jewish lawmakers. Now, of course, Ilhan Omar is not anti-Semitic at all. And this is a manufactured controversy that is really being used just to point the fingers at Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Rashida Tlaib to say, hey guys, just remember, this could happen to you. We have the power. You don't have the power. It's stupid, and I really do not believe this is a big thing that people should actually be considering to be a big thing. People really should not ever insinuate that Ilhan Omar is anti-Semitic, because she isn't. And, well, the end. Well, there's more to the story because that resolution was actually voted on. They actually got to vote on the resolution. And the resolution itself, pretty much everybody in the House voted yes. Every Democrat voted yes, and pretty much a lot of Republicans voted yes, except for 24. Mike Rogers, Mo Brooks, Rick Crawford, Paul Gosar, Andy Biggs, Doug LaMalfa, Ken Buck, Ted Yoho, Greg Stubbe, Tom Graves, Thomas Massey, Stephen M. Plazo, Mark Walker, Ted Budd, Lee Zeldin, Peter T. King, Chris Collins, Jeff Duncans, Louis Gomert, K. Michael Conaway, Chip Roy, Michael C. Burgess, and Liz Cheney all voted no, whereas good old actual white supremacist Steve King legitimately voted present on the bill. To be fair, let me explain, Steve King voting present is pretty much like him saying, because Steve King is pretty much in a damned if they do, damned if they don't situation. If he votes yes, the Republicans will be mad at him. If he votes no, then people will be like, see, you are a white supremacist. There was no way he would have been able to win in that situation. But the biggest problem many people have, including myself, is Liz Cheney was the one screaming at the top of her lungs, and she voted no on this resolution that specifically says we don't like anti-Semitism. You see the hypocrisy here? And then everybody in this stupid circle of Washington elitists are all, everybody's in pretty much agreement. Oh, Ilhan Omar is anti-Semitic. The end. It's wait, but no, this is not true at all. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. She is not anti-Semitic, and anybody who says she is completely incorrect. She's not anti-Semitic at all. Period. I'm not even gonna humor the thing, because she isn't. And let's just say hypothetically, she accused AIPAC, not even accused, she said AIPAC uses money to give to politicians who support Israel. That's the truth. That is 100% the truth. But let's just say everybody who's against Israel is anti-Semitic. Norman Thomas would then be considered anti-Semitic. And, it's ludicrous. Just because you're against Israel does not mean you're anti-Semitic. Like, at all. The end. There's not much more to say. And then Ilhan Omar also started saying things that made me like her even more. Like, for example, she recently said in an interview that Obama's hope and change was not what we were promised. Which is, again, true. and it's just funny. Because people are also kind of jumping on that. Like, see, she's also, she hates Democrats. Like, a recent thing happened with Bernie Sanders on, like, a Twitter thing where they said, oh, Bernie Sanders, he says that he loved Jesse Jackson in 1988, but then he talked about the potential of primarying Barack Obama in 2012. And one more in the win category. You're not losing me with that. But anyways, next story. Trump cancels Obama policy of reporting drone strike deaths. The reporting requirement was the first ever effort by the U.S. government to account for how many people have been killed in targeted strikes. The latest step toward rolling back Obama-era rules for targeted killings, President Trump will no longer require U.S. intelligence officials to publicly disclose the numbers of people killed in drone strikes and other attacks on terrorist targets across war zones. Trump ended the reporting requirement by signing an executive order Wednesday. The move had been expected since the administration last year failed to release an annual accounting of civilian and enemy casualties required under an order signed by 2016 by then President Barack Obama. This is not good. I mean, granted, Obama, he made that rule just so happened to be the year he was leaving, so he didn't have accountability before then. But, I mean, that is a thing, to be fair. He was hugely, he did at least kind of try to be, like, kind of had some accountability, but otherwise, there isn't any. I mean, I'm not even going to say, like, oh, I mean, again, it's Obama. He has, like he wasn't accountable either. He still killed people, but he just had the dignity to write that down. To write down the number that he did. It's nothing. Pretty much, Trump is just making a bad situation worse. But anyways, the next story is not really a story. It's more of just something that happened. The For the People Act, H.R. 1, it was an act that was made to increase voter registration. I don't think it had ranked choice voting. Ayanna Pressley introduced an amendment that would lower the voting age to 16. End partisan gerrymandering. You know, among other things that would reform our democracy. Oh, I'm sorry, our republic. Now, here's the breakdown. 234 Democrats voted yes, i.e., all of them. 193 Republicans voted no, and I messed up. Actually, 1 Democrat voted no, and 4 Republicans voted... I mean, not 1 Republican voted no. 1 Republican didn't vote, 1 Democrat didn't vote, and 4 Republicans didn't vote. So, yeah, that resolution passed, but it's highly unexpected to get to the White House or the Senate. I mean, if it does get... I mean, it will get to the Senate, but it won't pass. You know, because Republican control. But anyways, here's another story. Chelsea Manning jailed for refusing to testify on WikiLeaks. Former Army intelligence analyst Chelsea Manning, who served years in prison for leaking one of the largest troves of classified documents in U.S. history, was sent to jail Friday for refusing to testify before a grand jury investigating WikiLeaks. U.S. District Judge Claude Hilton ordered Manning to jail for civil contempt of court after a brief hearing in the federal court in Alexandria in which Manning confirmed she had no intention of testifying. She told the judge that she will accept whatever you bring upon me. Manning had said that she objects to the secrecy of the grand jury process and has already revealed everything she knows to her at her court-martial. She said prosecutors have granted her immunity from her testimony, which eliminates her ability to invoke her Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. I will not participate in a secret process that I morally object to, particularly one that has been used to entrap and persecute activists for protected political speech. And, many people are, of course, doing one thing that I think is a good thing in this regard. They are asking, which jail is she in? Because there are going to be protests tonight, boy. I mean, Chelsea Manning is a hero as far as I'm concerned. So this is definitely not a good thing that she's going back to prison. Last time she was in prison, Barack Obama tortured her. Chelsea Manning tried to bring her agenda of, fighting for the people to the Senate. Granted, she didn't end up doing it, but, she tried. That is a good thing, and I think that she should be free of all charges. She should be given a hero's welcome. If I were president, I'd give her the Medal of Freedom alongside, Eugene V. Debs and Edward Snowden. But anyways, speaking of the presidency, we have three people who have announced that they are not running for president. Sherrod Brown, Michael Bloomberg, and Jeff Merkley have all announced that they will not be seeking the Democratic nomination for president in 2020 and will not run as an independent or anything. Sherrod Brown will just scurry on by and wait until he gets a chance to be reelected. Jeff Merkley will run for reelection. And, of course, Michael Bloomberg will do nothing. Now, with that being said, what does that mean they're going to do next? I assume Merkley will endorse Sanders, and Sherrod will endorse whoever the Democratic nominee is. Bloomberg will endorse his own, corporatist candidate. It seems that they really do genuinely believe that the field is getting too crowded. They, I'm pretty sure this was exactly what Merkley was thinking of. Okay, I need to make my decision tomorrow morning. How many progressives are in the race? Bernie, Warren, Gabbard. I'm good. And Bloomberg was, let's see, how many corporatists are running? Booker, Harris, Klobuchar, Hickenlooper. Yeah, I'm good. That's pretty much what they were thinking. There's not much to really say. I am glad that Merkley has decided not to run. Because, to be honest, for those, I didn't want Merkley to run, really. I think that Merkley would have been better suited in the Senate, which he's going to stay in. He's going to try to make the Senate progressive again. Or whatever he wants it to say. But, I do believe that this is a genuinely good thing that Merkley has decided to not try and usurp Bernie Sanders. Because, to be fair, that is just a good thing. He has, I think he'll end up endorsing Sanders, like he did last time. Or maybe he'll pull, I think the least he'll do is probably do, I endorse Elizabeth Warren because I think she's the best chance. But I think maybe, and if he does endorse Sanders, I don't think he's going to be doing it early on. I think he's going to wait until, like last time around, he was going to wait until his endorsement really mattered. Because while he did endorse Sanders late in the game last time around, he endorsed him in the brink of the primary, of his state primary. So he was able to give Sanders the push that he needed to win Oregon. And people even questioned why he was they're like, dude, why are you endorsing him now? Why didn't you endorse him early on in the race? He was like, well, that's because back then we didn't know that it could actually be a competitive race. We all thought that he would get kicked, Hillary Clinton would make him drop out immediately. But now that the race has gotten more competitive, he's gonna actually pull through it. I think he could be a good candidate for the presidency of the United States. So, yeah. That's all the stories I got today. Now let's move on to the third party presidential candidate of the day. Now, here we actually have interesting things. You see, This one doesn't lead to a campaign website. It leads to the website of a political party called the Free Soil Party. The Free Soil Party is of course, we all know the Free Soil Party of yesteryear. You know, like, they were like the anti-slavery party that John P. Hale ran for. Well, some group of activists have decided to reinvigorate the American Free Soil Party to run for president in 2020. The main guy being Adam Seaman. Ha 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 ha. And I mean, his platform is very simple. Here's some of this platform. I'm gonna read some bits of his platform, just to show you what he wants. Ballot access reform for all third-party candidates. Inclusion of all third-party candidates in presidential debates if they achieve 10%. I mean, that seems a little unfair still. The personhood. I guess they're pro-life. Ending political action committees. Opposing the death penalty. Opposing euthanasia. A mixed economy. I guess it's kind of social democracy. It seems that they are Christian democracy. They support the Second Amendment with gun regulations. Yeah, universal health care. It seems that they are Christian democracy. They're just Christian Democrats. I mean, it seems like an interesting idea for people to do. I mean, to be fair, there's not much. I mean, on the right, there's not much you can do except for Christian democracy and libertarianism that'll actually give you some kind of uniqueness. All conservatives are pretty much the same. I hate gays. I hate the environment. But, the other ones, they're more lenient to the environment and blah, blah, blah. And it seems that they're going to be good. They seem like interesting candidates. Now, this episode's topic is going to be, of course, the 2020 Republican primaries, speculation, and other things. Because, believe it or not, despite the fact that the Republicans have already pretty much declared that they are going to support Donald Trump, there is technically still a primary. You see, the thing is, the Republicans, they actually automatically give the support of the candidate, of the incumbent president. That's their rule. The incumbent president, they already give their support and throw their support behind them, no matter what happens. Even if there's a primary, the opposition is usually quelled. But the Democrats, they don't have this rule explicitly, but it's also kind of a similar deal with the Democrats. I mean, did they give a full debate to John Wolfe Jr. versus Obama? I don't think so. Now, the big thing is, Republican Party candidates. Technically, there are a lot of candidates for the Republican nomination that have actually announced that they are formally running for president. And, of course, I will explain who they are right now. Now, aside from the big Cheeto man in the House, we have Jack Feller, a perennial Republican candidate since 1988, and a nominee for the Prohibition Party in 2012. I already made a whole video talking about him, but here's a little clip of his platform so you know where he stands. Platform includes the elimination of the liquor industry, banning abortion, banning pornography, prayer in public schools, and the criminalization of homosexuality. So, as you can see, his platform has not really gotten much traction in the, primaries or any of the elections that he ran for. Though I would like to hear from him and get an interview with him because he seems really reclusive. Nobody seems to know who he is or where he lives or anything. Another candidate that is running for the Republican nomination is Jonathan Sharkey, a professional wrestler and perennial candidate for multiple offices since 2000. Now, Jonathan Sharkey's, he's known for being one of those wacky, crazy perennial candidates. I don't know his actual platform because I don't care, because he's not going to win anyways, but, he'll be there. Mike Norman, an MMT Keynesian economist. Now, he's not going to win either. He's not, because he's a left-winger running with modern monetary theory, the economic ideology that real progressives never told me about. Anyways, he's not going to win. He isn't going to win the Republican primary at all. But I mean, hey, he'll get an A for trying. Rocky de la Fuente, the candidate that I am the only person who seems to know who this man is until Vice stole my thunder. I was the one reporting on him from the very beginning. Nobody else seems to know who Rocky de la Fuente is. I try to tell Secular Talk, I try to tell Jimmy Dore, I don't expect him to have serious stories, but this is going to be a funny story because listen to Rocky de la Fuente's record. Businessman and candidate for president in 2016 with the Democratic Party. Then he ran as a Reform Party candidate, as well as forming his own political party called the American Delta Party. He ran for Florida Senator in 2016 as a Democrat. He ran for Mayor of New York in 2017 as a Republican. And he ran for Senator of California, Florida, Minnesota, Vermont, Washington, Wyoming, and Hawaii in 2018 as a Republican. And he plans to run for not only... He intended to run in the Democratic nomination for president in 2020. Then he changed his mind to run in the Republican primary. And he plans to run in every single Senate race in 2020. This guy clearly has some interesting goals. Now, of course, people keep saying, why do you run in so many of these elections? And he's like, well, actually, I'm running because I want to show that the United States, it has very, very interesting rules in regards to its elections. I'm trying to show how flawed our elections are. But many people like me have called BS on it because, you don't have to do this. You could just point out the flaws in our election system. You don't have to run in all these races. Especially considering in many interviews that he did, including the one on Vox, he said that he would intend to win the election. In my opinion, just give him one. Just give him one. I don't know. Just give him one of the races. Just give him one. I don't care which one. If he runs at the Republican primary in the U.S. in 2020 for North Carolina senator, just give him a pity vote. Give him the nomination of one of them. It's going to work eventually. Patrick Little, he's a neo-Nazi who also ran in 2018 for the California Senate race as a Republican in its open primary. He is a Nazi. He's just a Nazi. He is. There's nothing else to say. People keep saying, oh, well, he's actually not a Nazi. Yes, this guy is not a Nazi.
For all intents and purposes, if you want to boil it down to one sentence, the Holocaust is a lie. It never happened. If you say Hitler was anything but terribly evil, it'll just hurt our chances of reaching out to people.
That guy ran as a Republican in 2018. He didn't even run with the American Independent Party. They endorsed someone else. He must be really bad at white supremacy if the party that was founded to be a segregationist party didn't endorse him. Now, one more thing that is actually kind of interesting. He originally planned to run as an American Nazi Party Democrat, but then he changed his mind and went to the Republican Party. Makes sense. Their alt-right seems to be having like this huge stranglehold on a lot of things. Another major minor candidate is Keith Davenport, minister and Democratic candidate for Oklahoma's 5th Congressional District. Nothing much to say. I mentioned him before in an episode. And lastly, we have Joe Collins III, veteran and candidate for Republican nomination before switching to Green and switching back. Yeah, he went from running as a Republican. Then he started running as a Green. Then he changed his mind and ran back to be a Republican. I mean, he clearly has no clue where he wants to go. But I mean, best of luck to him on finding whatever party he wants to be with. Now, another thing, but you know those guys. Those guys are like boring and blah, 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 and nobody likes them. But the real question many people are having is there potential of Donald Trump getting primaried out of the Republican Party? Well, if you may know, there are actually a couple of individuals that are known for being potential primary challengers to Donald Trump. And there are currently 4 that have been seen as potential people to primary Donald Trump. There were originally more, but I think Don Blankenship has officially moved to the Constitution Party, so I don't think he might be running in the Republican primary. And one of them is Bill Kristol, who nobody cared about anyways, so, I mean, there was nothing else to really say about that guy. But the real question many people have is, what about the 4 that do have the potential of primary Donald Trump? Well, let me go over all 4 of them and seeing potential in them possibly defeating Donald Trump. The best part about it is all 4 of them seem to be hitting different categories within the Republican Party. The Republican Party, that's what I said, I guess. But I mean, you know, whatever. That's just how I said it. The first one I'm going to mention is Lawrence Joseph Hogan II. I guess the second, his name is actually Lawrence Joseph Hogan Jr. But, you know, I'm just going to say the second because it's the same thing, really. Now, Larry Hogan, he was the son of a congressman and current governor of Maryland. I was endorsing his opponent, Ben Jealous. Sorry, Ian. I was endorsing Ben. But anyways, he was a delegate for the Republican National Convention from the 70s and the 80s. And he tried to run for Congress a couple of times in 1981. I will say there is one accomplishment, apparently. In 1992, he ran as the Republican nominee for Maryland's 5th Congressional District, running against Steny Hoyer. The race was the closest in Hoyer's tenure, with Hogan actually winning 4 out of the district's 5 counties and taking 45% of the vote to Hoyer's 55%. No other challenger has come close. So, yeah, that is a very good thing, I guess. The thing about Hoyer is he has actually one big thing. He is a centrist Republican. Yeah. He has actually tried to do a lot of environmental protection. He has a 60% approval rating among Democrats. It's actually one of the biggest reasons why he is actually won in the last one, because a lot of the centrist Democrats, they preferred Larry Hogan to Ben Jealous and his quote-unquote democratic socialist ideals. He was against fracking. I mean, he opposed Trump's decision to rescind DACA. He was originally for civil unions and then evolved to be for gay marriage. He tightened gun control in Maryland. He signed a bill that would have low and middle income students free community college tuition. I think there's more bad things, but like he seems like he's a more moderate Republican. I guess technically you could call him like a Nelson Rockefeller of this year. And the speculation for him running for president is high because he's been a very vocal critic of Donald Trump. Now, Hogan, I think I could see him. I don't necessarily. To be fair, I'm not going to say what I think about all these guys until the end. But, you know, that's just it. He seems to be like a very interesting candidate. If he were to run, he endorsed Chris Christie in 2016. And he had no plans to endorse Donald Trump. And actually wrote his father in... Like, he wrote in his father in the... When it was time to actually run for... Like, when it was time to actually go vote. Now... There's not much to really say about him because, I mean, presidential speculation about him is not that high. So, I mean, I'll be fair about one regard. I think he'd be a favorite son. Okay, but that's all I'll say. Until I get to the end. The next candidate is John Richard Kasich Jr. I got it right this time. 69th governor of Ohio, Tee. Got a faithless elector last election. Ran for president last time. He was a congressman from Ohio's 12th district for a while. He was a Fox News host. Yeah. He ran for president in 2000 as well. Okay, but anyways, he seems to be trying to do two things at once. Like, he's trying to appeal to apparently two groups that, I mean, they're radically different. One, he's trying to appeal to the more mainstream Republican, you know, neocon base. I mean, you can't really call that a base, but like, you know what I mean, the people who are like neoconservatives. But he's also trying to, you know, put himself in the moderate group. Even though, and everybody seems to fall for the idea that he's a moderate. With pretty much everybody running like ideal dream tickets about him with John Hickenlooper as the VP, or him being the VP. Like, Hickenlooper Kasich 2020. That CNN news clip was embarrassing. I mean, now that Hickenlooper's running, maybe people might actually think that Hickenlooper might have a chance. But anyways, he is running as a more... He's pretending to be the more moderate one. But, you know... He's not. Pro-life, he acknowledged climate change is a real problem, but he said the EPA should not regulate carbon emissions. Like, he's kind of like a libertarian in that regard. He's like, I do believe climate change is a problem, but will you do anything about it? No. Because, like Ozzy Peterson said it's the stupidest quote. And I'll just play it for you if I can find it. Or if not, I'll just say it.
Whether or not global warming is true or not, that the government should stay the hell out of it.
That could go on a tirade on its own, but I think I'll just leave it at that. Back to Kasich. He's a part of the Keystone Pipeline. He proposed selling 5 prisons to for-profit industries. He's your standard conservative. Everybody seems to, like, political scientists actually point out the truth that he's not a centrist. He's your typical conservative. He's your typical neoconservative guy. But moderates just, for some reason, love Kasich. I have no clue why, but they do. And it's getting aggravating. It shows that centrists, they really don't know anything about policy. They don't. And it does not bode well for centrists, because centrists, I to go on a tirade about centrists here. Centrists, they always, like, just look at their things. Anytime there's a centrist that wants to start their own political movement, it's always the same stupid crap. The far right and the far left are taking over the establishment. We need to move to the center. It's especially considering it's not true in any regard of the word. The far left and the far right are not tearing the American, that's not true. Especially considering they're like, we need to come to common ground, like the average American who doesn't care about climate change and the Green New Deal or Medicare for all. Not true at all. Like, not true at all. They love those positions a lot. Howard Schultz and his stupid campaign for president. And people really love to think that the Howard Schultz campaign for president is going to go anywhere. It's not. It's not. It's not the 90s anymore. Centrism, it's dead. It killed the Democratic Party. So, nobody wants that anymore. Nobody wants that anymore. Howard Schultz's candidacy for president will be nothing. He'll get 3 votes, and that'll all be from his Starbucks employees that actually... I mean, no, he's not going to get any votes from Starbucks employees because all the Starbucks people drink their coffee with their Bernie Sanders computers. Centrism is boring. And if you are a centrist out there, give me actual policies that you're for and against. Because literally every other centrist on the internet, especially considering if they want to make it a big political movement, like this stupid guy, I say stupid, he's like a philosopher or something. He was on the Joe Rogan show, the powdered wig guy. Like, he wears purple, curly hair. Mr. Beat, you probably know his name. I don't know, because I don't care. But he made a, thing about, being a centrist. Like, a whole website that was talking about this new political movement about being a centrist. There was not a single piece of fucking platform or policy that he actually stands for. That's why nobody takes centrists seriously. Because it's literally just far left, far right, me center, me smart. That's all centrism is. Literally. It's freaking insane. Especially considering it shows that they don't know anything about policy because they think John Kasich is a centrist. He's not. At all. But then again, the American Overton window is so shifted. Maybe he is. In the worldwide spectrum, maybe he is a centrist. Now, despite the fact that worldwide centrists seem to be more in line with the libertarians, I guess, a little bit. I don't know. The next candidate that could potentially flip Donald Trump and make him go away is Bob Corker, former senator of Tennessee. Because he's the only 10 I see. Ha 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 ha. Huh. He was a senator from 2007, and to 2019. And he's just been your average conservative. I think, and people called him the big, super anti, he was the anti-Trump firebrand. They made this, a Fox News or CNN or one of the major news outlets, they, had, Bob Corker and Paul Ryan as, Trump's 2 biggest enemies in the old Congress, and now the new Congress is going to be, his new enemies is Mitt Romney. It's Mitt Romney, anti-establishment, and the enemy of the president. That's stupid. Now, I'm not concerned about Bob Corker or him doing anything of importance, because he's just your average conservative, no big deal. Nothing to see here. There's not any special kind of conservative here. He's just your average conservative who says that Donald Trump is bad, and that's why there's a lot of speculation of him running for president, because the mainstream Democratic Party and the mainstream media, they're perfectly fine with a conservative just as long as it's not Donald Trump. But anyways, the more interesting one is this guy, because this guy has actually filed an exploratory committee to run against Donald Trump. That person being Bill Weld, former governor of Massachusetts and Libertarian Party candidate for vice president in 2016. Bill Weld, before I say anything, Daryl Perry had a huge rant about Bill Weld in regards to, his thing. He really, really, really got a huge rant in regards to Bill Weld, because Bill Weld made a promise to Bill Weld that he would stay within the Libertarian Party and be like the Libertarian from day one to the last day. Especially considering Gary Johnson was always talking about, like, I believe that Bill Weld is the original Libertarian. You know, even which I go, wait, what? I think that's a little bit, far-fetched, would you say? Wow, I mean, it's literally so far-fetched that it would ever be possible that he's the original Libertarian, in any sense of the word. If you mean American Libertarians, you'd say, oh, maybe Thomas Paine or David Nolan or Thomas Jefferson. But if you mean worldwide Libertarian, I don't know, you'd say, who's that guy that they always talk about? Who's that guy? John Locke. That's what I'm thinking of. But anyways, Weld is, of course, kind of a centrist, libertarian leaning, like, especially considering he ran for New York governor with the endorsement of the New York Libertarian Party. Now, he, of course, is like, the biggest thing that people have actually been concerned about is like that he, unlike most other people, he actually put boots on the ground and is actually currently running as an exploratory committee. Now, of course, platform-wise, he does have some significant differences from Donald Trump. He's been a long critic of the war on drugs. He has proposed legislation to tighten prescription rules to keep opioids off the streets. Is strongly pro-choice. Consistent supporter of LGBT rights. I mean, to be fair, he's also like a classic conservative in the economic field. He's a supporter of charter schools. And, I mean, to be fair, they did consider Massachusetts to have the best schools in the nation during his gubernatorial run. So, yeah, I mean, he does have some significant differences with Donald Trump and the mainstream conservative. Though, of course, he does have some, similarities to the mainstream conservatives. I wouldn't say he's, super conservative. I wouldn't say that. He just have... I will say he is... I would say he's libertarian-leaning, at least. Not as much as Amash, but, he seems very leaning in that regard. And it's funny. Amash, he's actually... there's more speculation of Amash running as a libertarian than there is of him running as a Republican. And that voice of the libertarian-leaning Republican will be one that is very sincerely missed, because, we saw Ron Paul in 2012 and 2008, and Rand Paul in 2016. The libertarian voice of the Republican Party will need a voice, and unless Justin Amash is willing to put on his big boy pants and go, I'm running as a Republican, Bill Weld is their best chance. Now, one more thing is this. While I do say all this, do any of these guys have the chance? Are any of these guys going to pull a Eugene McCarthy and beat Donald Trump and make sure that Donald Trump won't be the number one contender? Well, even if they do make sure that Donald Trump does not get the Republican nomination, it's very unlikely any of these guys will be the nominee. I will say the best case scenario for any of them is one of these guys, I don't know who, it could be any one of these guys. Let's just say money goes on Kasich. Does so well in the New Hampshire primary that it forces Donald Trump to drop out of the race. But a more likely scenario for any of these guys is that all of these guys just become favorite sons. Each of these guys win, their home state, and that's it. Kasich, that's just what happened in real life. Kasich only won Ohio, and that's it. But, my old history teacher wanted to vote for Kasich. He did. But, John Kasich, I don't think he has the potential. Bill Weld, I think any of them just have the potential of being a favorite son candidate. And that would be an interesting scenario, because we haven't seen favorite son candidates do well and actually win a state in a while. So I'd actually be fully on board with seeing at least seeing Donald Trump not having the privilege of saying how he won it in a landslide. That would be funny. But again, really, none of these guys I would actually consider anything other than that. I'm not going to be voting for any of these guys anytime soon. Especially considering, well, I mean, I'm not particularly in their group of people to hit. I mean, granted, I would prefer maybe a Mosh run in the Republican primary. Or maybe even, a Mosh would at least be a more upfront libertarian voice for the Republican Party. I'd actually like a progressive Republican to try and run. That'd be funny. They wouldn't win, but, they do something. But anyways, thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click that bell to be notified when the future video when it comes out. And if you're interested in more political content from me, you can go to my website or follow me on Facebook, Twitter, or Quora, or check out my articles on the Independent Political Report. What are your thoughts on any of these candidates? Do you think any of them could beat Donald Trump? Or do you think that they're just going to end up being favorite sons, like I said? Or do you think they have an even less likely chance? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below.